Hi, this is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north, a greenhouse in the very untropical north of the UK. So today is all about the incredible Nepenthes, an absolutely amazing, wonderful plant. And I'm hoping to try and persuade you to have a go at growing these amazing plants. I have scoured the internet for the most frequently asked questions about growing Nepenthes, and as we tour around my Nepenthes collection, we're going to answer those questions as we go along. So let's dive in. And we are in. So we're going to start with highland Nepenthes. So if you don't know, there are lowland Nepenthes and highland Nepenthes. 70% of Nepenthes are actually highland Nepenthes. So most of them grow in highland areas. That's mountainous forests. Now these aren't forests like the jungly kind of lush forest that you're used to. These are known as dwarf forests. They're quite different. And we're going to start with 3 of my highland Nepenthes. Nepenthes are in general pretty slow growing, or they are in my opinion anyway, and they take rather a long time to reach maturity. They are vining, climbing plants, but for the majority of their life, certainly when you buy them, because most people buy them online, and if you buy them online, you're only going to get a very small plant, and it's going to take 5 to 10 years to start vining. So that gives you an idea of how slow they grow. However, vining isn't generally the goal. What you want are lots and lots of pictures. So we're going to talk about how you get that. We're just going to move around to the highland area of my greenhouse and have a look at 3 Nepenthes plants and answer a few questions when we get there. Okay, so we're going to start off with this rather lovely Nepenthes here. So you can see here, these pictures are absolutely stunning. They're quite small. You know, this isn't a very mature plant. This is only quite a small plant, but it is still a few years old. It's certainly not at the vining stage yet. And we'll start off with one of the questions, which is, why does my Nepenthes have red leaves? So I'm going to answer that in a second. I'll just tell you what it is first of all. So this is Nepenthes spectabilis crossed with platychila. So I'll just hold that up for you so you can see the label there. And I purchased this, when did I get this one? I think I got this one, oh there you go, it's there, isn't it? The 2nd of the 12th, 2020. So it's not been in my possession for an entire year yet, and I've written high or lowland. You'll find that a lot of these plants, especially the hybrids like this one is, tend to be a lot more forgiving in terms of the kind of temperatures that they like. Now I've got mostly highland Nepenthes. I don't have the temperatures anymore anyway for the real species lowland Nepenthes. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail later on, but let's just marvel at the wondrous pictures with the fantastic markings on them here. This really is a beautiful plant. You can see that the younger one, so if you just look at that one there, the younger picture there doesn't have anywhere like the markings that the older pictures do. You'll find that a lot of these, even the species actually, as well as the hybrids, there is a lot of variation on them. So you can see a photograph of something and expect to get something, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your particular plant. It's just that these plants have variation on individual plants. I particularly want to draw your attention to the peristome there. That's like, so you've got the lid on top, which is quite self-explanatory, and the peristome is that kind of stripy edge to the picture there, where it has generally it has ridges on them. Sometimes they have teeth on them, and that is where the insects will kind of slide into the picture of death. And you can also see the ladder as well, the climbing up. Now not all Nepenthes have ladders. This one with these young pictures does have a ladder on there, which kind of points the way up to where all the goodies are, and also where instant death is as well. So the question was, why is my Nepenthes red? Why have the leaves turned red? Now, even though in the highland conditions, Nepenthes are used to getting some sun, they will get some sunshine, usually dappled sunshine, but very often there are Nepenthes species that grow out in the open and on rocky ridges and outcrops and so on. So they are used to that. However, there are many species that get the dappled effect of being in one of these dwarf forests. And of course, what we've got here is an Nepenthes that is getting sun through the glass, and it's that sun through the glass that makes them turn red. They will never turn green again, unfortunately. It doesn't seem to do them that much harm, but obviously they're meant to be green. I would prefer that to be green, and when the new leaves come on it, they will indeed be green. So I like this plant. It's a beautiful, beautiful plant, gorgeous pictures, and it's grown a lot of new pictures for me this summer, so we must be doing something right with that. However, when it was up on the shelf over there during the springtime, it got some sun, a little bit too much sun, and hence it has red leaves. The others that I'm going to show you don't. So we're going to have a look at this next one. So this one is a really useful one to have as a new grower. So this one is Nepenthes ventricosa. This one is a species. Obviously the last one was a hybrid. So this is a species from the Philippines, and that's how you spell it there, ventricosa. This one is well known as being a particularly easy one to grow. Will grow well in a terrarium, will also grow well on a windowsill. Beautiful pictures, in my opinion not quite as nice as what we've just seen on the hybrid, but you can see we have got some nice green leaves on that. Also worth looking at the two rosettes that you've got here. Nepenthes tend to grow a new rosette or several new rosettes from the base every year, and each one of those has the potential to start vining, and each one has the potential to produce pictures. It's also a good way of propagating them, because every time it produces one of these rosettes from the base, you can split that off, divide it off, and you've got another plant. So that's worth knowing. And the other one I'm going to show you in this little collection is one of my favorites, because it has some beautiful pictures here. So this one, fairly well, I suppose I would say it's a medium-sized plant. So this is lowii crossed with ventricosa. So what you've got here, and it's fairly heavy because there's quite a lot of digestive fluid in these rather large pitchers. So I bought this one as a fairly small plant. It was November last year, so it's coming up to a year in my possession. It's very easy, or it very readily forms pictures, as you can see. It's not that sensitive to the light. You can see a big leaf jump there, and this is what happens. You'll suddenly start getting large leaves appear on these things, and you know when that happens, it's taken off, it's happy, and it's in a happy place. It's definitely in the conditions that it likes. So what's so special about this one? This one is a hybrid with Nepenthes lowii. Now lowii is almost like an infamous Nepenthes. I'm sure you'll have seen video footage of a particular little shrew. These Nepenthes lowii have like a toilet bowl shaped pitcher, and the shrew comes along and it licks the underside of the lid there, which is usually absolutely full of nectar, like a nectar sugary substance, and that seems to have some kind of laxative in it, which makes the shrew then use the pitcher as a toilet, and the Nepenthes plant has got a little bit more nutrition, and that's what makes this one so good. If you're going to buy lowii as a species, certainly in the UK, it's very expensive. So the next best thing is to go and get a lowii hybrid like I've got here, and I really love this one, and it's great to see it doing so well. So there is one species and two hybrids for you to look at to start with, and let's answer another question. So as we look at this lowii hybrid here, we are going to answer the question, should I fill my pitchers with water? Well, I did an entire video on this. In short, the answer is no, you shouldn't fill your pitchers with water. The digestive fluids in a Nepenthes are highly specialised, and filling it with water is not going to do anything other than give you something to do. It will not help the plant one little bit. You'll find that if the pitchers do spill out, that happens, sometimes you knock them and they spill out, or maybe it's been in the postage system and they have been emptied out there, you'll find that the plant will do one of two things. It will either produce some more digestive fluid to go inside the pitcher itself, or it will abort the picture, dry it up and start some new ones. Either way, by putting water in, you're not helping in any way. If it makes you feel good, well, go for it if you want, but you're not actually going to do anything to benefit the plant, so why bother? And before we look at our next plant, we'll answer one more question. Should I fertilise my Nepenthes? Yes, in short. I used to think that it wasn't the right thing to do and that by fertilising them, you was preventing them from growing more pitchers. But in actual fact, one of the main books on growing carnivorous plants, it's a very, very popular carnivorous plant Bible almost. I'll put the name of that book in the description, but if you have a look in there, they do recommend fertilising Nepenthes. You can do it one of two ways. I'm not talking about getting hold of bugs and putting bugs inside the pitchers. They can do that themselves perfectly well. They don't need you to do it. If you've got, of course, like an open aspect like I have, where insects can fly in, then the Nepenthes will find they attract their own prey. There's no problem with that. However, if you grow them in the house and you don't have access to the bugs, then yes, go and get some bugs and feed them that way. But you can also spray them with like a dilute orchid feed. They do really well with a foliar feed. I mean, let's face it, the whole leaf shape there has been evolved over millions of years in order to take nutrition through the leaf, because the pitcher, believe it or not, is a true leaf. It's just a modified leaf, but it's still a true leaf. And they clearly know how to take food in through their leaves. So yes, I actually put that down as being one of the real game changers for me, that over the winter months, when I had no growth, lower temperatures obviously, and no bugs were coming in, it was only once I started actually spraying them a couple of times a month with dilute orchid feed. I did it about 200 parts per million, but you can experiment with that. And I found that they continued to grow through those winter months, and they continued to throw out new pitchers. And that wasn't happening prior to me feeding them. You can give them a root feed as well if you like, but I found the foliar feed worked well, so I don't think there was any need to give them a root feed, along with that. So I didn't do that. So there's a couple of questions answered. Let's move on to our next three Nepenthes plants. So this one is Nepenthes fusca. I've had this one since October 2019. So this one is now 2 years in my care. It was a very, very small plant when I got it. You can see again, it's doing the leaf jump thing for me. It's producing some new leaves. You can see the smaller rosette of leaves below. We're now on to the next size up. It will grow a lot bigger than this with the leaves. Fairly pretty pictures. I wouldn't say at the moment I know really what they're going to look like. The juvenile pictures can look quite different from the more mature pictures, but I quite like that nice lime green peristome there. There's a little hint that there's going to be some stripes on the bigger one, but we'll have to wait and see when it grows a few more pictures. So fusca is a species. This one is from Borneo. Nice little plant there. And over here we have Nepenthes cross ventrata, another one that's growing well, and you can really see the leaf jump on this. You can see the size of the leaves, and then the latest leaf is, I'd say it's almost a third as big again. It looks like it's going to abort the picture at the end, but I'm still happy with the way it's growing. Really big pictures on it here, and you can see the difference in colour between the more mature one and the newer one on the right there. They do change colour, or they can change colour as they've been around for a while. Really nice slender picture there. Beautiful peristome, lovely ridge on it, and you can notice that the lid is higher up than some of the others. There are some Nepenthes where the lid almost covers like the entrance into the pitcher, and that is to keep the rain out, because the digestive fluid inside there, as I said before, is very specialised, and they don't want the rain mixing with it and diluting it. There are some where the lid is almost upright, And in that case, because evolution has tried all the different variations, and in that case, those particular Nepenthes, I'm thinking of one called Nepenthes ampullaria, which is another species, and it's grown to not vine anymore. It just stays on the floor of the forest and collects like leaf litter and everything that falls into it. So that one is like almost like a reformed carnivore, I guess. Nepenthes cross ventrata is a hybrid between Nepenthes alata and Nepenthes ventricosa. You'll see alata an awful lot on eBay. I think you can even get it on Amazon. It seems to be very, very popular. I haven't got one, in fact, but we have one of the hybrids here. So let's have another couple of questions that, as I say, are the most frequently asked questions on the internet about Nepenthes. Can Nepenthes take full sun? Well, we've almost answered that one, haven't we? You can see very clearly the one on the right there, the hybrid, which has red leaves. So yes, they can take full sun, but you know, there's full sun and full sun. If you've got it outside, I'd say if you're in the UK and it's in the summertime and you put them outside in the full sun, I would expect them to take that for a few hours. But if you're in somewhere that's really, really hot, then you're going to end up with red leaves. And certainly if you put it through the glass, allow the sun to get at them through the glass, they will turn red, and it doesn't look, you know, it looks like sunburn to me. It's not particularly attractive. So I would say you're going to need, if you're in a greenhouse or a grow room, you are going to need some shade on there if the sun comes through that window directly onto that plant for any length of time. Can Nepenthes be watered with tap water? Well, it depends on your tap water, because there's different chemicals in different tap waters from different places. I wouldn't give them tap water because I don't know what's in our tap water. I know there's chlorine in it. I can't imagine that's going to do them much good. So just to err on the side of caution, I would either use rainwater or I would use RO water, simply because you know what's in it. If you use RO water, you can add nutrients if you want to add nutrients. You know there's nothing going to be in there that shouldn't be in there. Same with rainwater. Better to err on the safe side, because these plants are very expensive and you don't want to give them any chemicals that's going to cause a problem. Why risk it? Okay, so next up, this one is a species. This is Nepenthes burkei from the Philippines. Absolutely beautiful Nepenthes. This was one that had no pictures on it whatsoever at the beginning of summer because I let it dry out, got it too close to the roof. I couldn't actually see what was going on. I just kept pouring some water in, and of course once the media shrinks away from the side of the pot, the water will just go through and it won't wet the media, and that's what happened to this one. And it was only once it started aborting all the pictures that I noticed. But you can see it's put loads of pictures on since, so it's very happy. It's actually in a mix of, I know it looks like moss, but that moss has just started to grow quite recently. But it's actually in a mix of coconut husks. It seems quite happy in that. I think there's a bit of coir in there as well. As far as media goes, they're not really that fussy in terms of media. They will grow in pretty much anything so long as it holds a little bit of moisture and it's well drained. We don't want them wet, but we also don't want them to be completely dry. You never want to allow your Nepenthes to dry out. The kind of forest they come from, they're used to constant fog, constant moisture, constant rain, and if you let them dry out, they will not thank you for it. Having said that, these are not bog plants. They don't want to sit in water. So the tray method of growing many carnivorous plants, where you have them sitting in a tray of water with a little bit of water like you would do with Drosera or Cephalotus, no, not for Nepenthes. They don't want that. I tend to water mine at this time of year about once every 2 or 3 days. It depends on your own conditions, of course, but you don't want to let them dry out. That's the key. If you're not letting them dry out and they stay moist, you can see at the side there whether it's moist, or you can poke your finger in it, then you know they're going to be happy. The roots are very, very small. You would expect them to fill this. Well, they don't. They're only tiny little things at the top of the pot. So you want that whole media to be nice and moist. The reason they grow them in these long pots is so that you can display the beautiful pictures.